All right. Hey, welcome to another edition of the Indignants for December 20th, 20.
What happened there?
Leftist Twitch streamers that get banned for saying cracker on Twitch, flag fetishes, who's getting Canada's wage subsidies, Canadian politicians cozy up with fundamentalist evangelicals, anti vaxxer pro murderer. Holy, this is a mouthful. Congratulations to Gabrielle. How do you pronounce his last name? Boric?
Boy,
All right, with special guests from Chile tonight. We also welcome Manuel and Mauricio, and hey, and the usual cast of Bailey and Matt as well. How's it going,
Hello,
everybody?
everybody.
Oh, I got to wave over here now. Hi.
Hello. Good to see you all.
Happy Monday, everybody. Nice to meet you, Manuel. Happy Monday to you as well. I hear things are a little happier in Chile this week than they were last week. So that's
yeah,
no doubt about
absolutely.
that. We have another guest joining us. His name is Mauricio, and he will be with us in just a moment.
Yeah.
I'm just checking
So
out the screen here.
I know Manuel and Maurizio through the pirate movement, the international pirate movement. Manuel is actually on the board
Hey,
of
Joe.
Pirate Parties International. And yeah, so we get to talk a lot and work together on international pirate stuff. And Mauricio is also involved in the pirate party as well. And yeah, Manuel and Mauricio are both members of the Pirate Party of Chile, and so yeah, I invited them on because we wanted to talk about the election that just happened down there, and yeah, it's a very good result from what we've seen, and we're just yeah, really happy to have you guys on. So thank you again for joining us, for talking with us about this.
So why don't we make that our number one story of the night? Like,
That is the number one story of the night. Yep.
let's just break right into that one there. So, um, I'm gonna throw this over to you in a second, Bailey. But from what I've heard, that there was an election in Chile, and a communist, from what I heard, or extreme, or very left wing.
Depending on the news source. Depending on the news source.
Right.
This
Depending
man
on the
is
news
the
source.
Red Scare.
Right. So I've read some sources that say a communist won the as a president, and that this is a great thing for the country or a bad thing for the country. It depends on where I'm reading it from. But what is going on?
Well, we're gonna let Maurizio and Manuel talk about this, but I just remember getting a message from Maurizio last night on the Global Pirates chat, and saying that Chile beat fascism, and
Right on.
so I think that that's like a really good place to start. So guys, tell us about the election over the weekend.
First off, welcome to the Indignants.
Yes.
And
Thank you very much.
Glad to have you
guys,
with us.
You guys had an election, and can you describe what happened and who won?
Okay, but first, thank you for the invitation, and hi, good night for everyone who's listening this podcast or streaming. Uh, Gabriel Boric, the new or the elected president, is not a communist. Even it's more than a social democrat, maybe, or from the social democrat, a little to the left, but it's not a radical left. It's not a. You don't want all the economy in the hand of the state, for example. He want some social rights for the people. That's what we need in Chile, because the inequality is so high. So that's why in 2019 we start a process of changing the constitution with a lot of demonstrations. And
Yeah, was there not rioting in Chile in 2019?
sorry,
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, so there was like riots in Chile. I'm gonna see if I can pull
yes,
something up on that quickly. Because I remember they were like it was a yeah. This is
it was
2 years
a
ago.
very big movement, and just
Kill the
stop
audio.
with the pandemic. So politically, we are in the same process. The riot, the election for the constitution, the constitution, and now the change of government. And
So when you say inequality, like how bad is it in Chile right now?
how bad is Chile?
Yeah.
Like, how bad is the level of difference between the rich and the poor there?
For example, the 1%, the richest 1% has around 27% of the wellness of the country. And the average for the world is around 18 and 16 in the OECD, something like that.
Mhm.
Organization
So
of Economic
we
and
have
Political States.
an inequality really high. So there's a few people who live very well. We have a very good infrastructure in the city, but the people is poor at the end. We around 70% of the population has incomes below $1,000 to the month.
Now, is that like Chilean dollars or like US dollars?
US dollars. No, we have pesos.
Okay. So what's it say? I'm a renter. I'm a tenant. What's the average rent in a place like Santiago?
In Santiago, in Chile, it's around uh, 500 pesos. This is around
More than $550 per month.
It's
So
around
I think more than
$7.
$550 per month.
So it's like half your pay.
Considering that the current minimum wage here in Chile is below $500 per month.
Wow.
So like $120 a week sort of thing.
Yeah. And adding up to what Mauricio said, and the inequality is not only seen through the disparities of wealth, as he said, it is also seen in the access to quality education, healthcare, and the environment. You
And
can
taxes.
see that the wealthiest municipalities or cities in the country have a higher standard of both infrastructure and parks and green areas, while the poorest areas have the complete opposite. So
Yeah, that's pretty systemic everywhere. The poor are. They're not going to have the green spaces or playgrounds, right? Like you don't deserve it because you make less money.
yeah, and when you combine that with laws that are being enforced through means that at the end are more probable to send a poor person to jail for a crime than for a rich person for the same crime, you also get that sense of injustice palpable in the air, to give it a name.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
like that. Palpable in the air. Like it sounds like it's very obviously it's a capitalist country.
It almost seems like there's elements of Pinochet that still exists. Like, there's probably institutions and stuff like that that he had a heavy hand in molding that probably are still so entrenched in your society that shit, you got to like get rid of them almost.
Was the candidate not running against Boric? Was he not in Pinochet's government?
His one of the members of his family was not him directly. I don't remember if it was his. I think
His
it was
father.
one of his brothers. Yeah, one of
Was
Father.
his brothers was a
Yeah.
minister for Pinochet's cabinet.
That's a
So
little too close for comfort. That's
yeah. So this is a far right candidate.
Hola, Esteban.
Hello.
Yeah,
So
that would be far. That would consider that far right.
yeah.
Wow. And I mean, you guys have probably lived through some of that. I'm not sure how old you guys are. You both look like very young men in your early 20s, but you may know people that have lived through, what's happened in Chile. And like, can you just briefly, for anybody that doesn't know, because
Yeah,
I'm
give
sure
us
there's
the
probably
history
one
of
or two
Chile.
people. Yeah.
Give us the quick,
And just
history of
recently
Chile
a lot of
since
this stuff happened. So like,
when
yeah, give us a
Pinochet
little bit.
coming in to Pinochet being deposed to today, if you don't mind.
Pinochet start our constitution in the 80s, and this civil and military government established the neoliberalism rules, but in a Chilean way, because it's more conservative, and the state worked for the richest and his enterprise and his business. And then when the Pinochet go off and start this transition to the democratic system, the privatization, it's that correct?
Yep,
Mhm.
yep. Privatization
Of
would be the right
the
word.
public services were deepened. So
Power
we have
companies, the
private
telephone companies.
education, private healthcare, private provision for the all people, uh, the roads, the ports. So all the base from the society passed to the private business. So this bring a lot of money in some sense, but produce a lot of inequities.
Yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
of cash coming in really quickly and continued wealth leaving all the time since.
Yep. So, and in the other hand, the political system were closed for more than maybe 20 years or 25 years. We just have a binominal system, two coalitions.
Yeah,
that
like a left and a
represent
right party.
a right party or a right coalition or alliance and a center left coalition. They rule the country for until today. But until 2017, the parliament has the two coalition too. From the 2017, we have three, three or something like that, polls in the parliament. But so this is really new for us to choose a president that not come from these two coalitions. That is new for us.
This is kind of like how the Americans do it now, where you have a presidential election that's separate from your sitting members of parliament, right?
Yes.
Not quite. The Chilean case is very nuanced and very curious because as Mauricio said, the dictatorship privatized a lot of public enterprises, and according to some journalists, sold them to for dirt cheap to their private friends on the private enterprises. And together with that, through the constitution, it exacerbated the importance of economic rights, like right to property, right to free enterprise, at the behest of, for example, right to education, right to work, and to health, and for healthcare. Um, from 1990, like till I don't know 2017, these two main coalitions tried to advance through social rights and other policy, but always with the political system being designed at the time at the dictatorship, that was at the end an anchor. A knot that was tied in the hands of anyone who would be on power. One of the intellectual minds behind the constitution said that even if the oppositions had the chance to get in power, it would be expected that they would and that they were only able to do what we would do on power. Our political system till 2017 wasn't like the American of I don't know of two parties through first past the post system. It was a cheap copy of the Polish system before the fall of the Berlin Wall, in which you had to make lists of candidates, and each district elected two members. So you forced a two-party system through districts of two candidates. So always the third coalition, the third option, the third alternative, rarely was able to break that system. So just on, as I said, on 2017, we were able to break that system and replace it with a system more close to what, for example, is being used in Spain. Together with that, there was the problem that the constitutions at the beginning stated that members of Senate, some of them had to be appointed, not democratically elected. For example, a former general of the army, a former comptroller general, a former member of the Supreme Court, a former director of a public university. And with those senators, you would never have a majority to make a change to either the constitution or to a public policy. And slowly but surely, we were able to get rid of those things. But the core of the idea that the state, the nation should first aid the economic development of those who can, that is still on the constitution. So the consequences of that were felt throughout the society, throughout the economy, until it all bursted on 2019, starting on October.
Nice.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
That's so much. So you have like this vast inequality everywhere. You're like reforming your constitution, and then you have this history of there being generally like right-wing governments, center-right governments. Um and then you have this election this past weekend. Oh, and again, like you said before, there's like climate change and all of these environmental issues, these social issues happening, the rise of the far right, all of these things, it happening at the same time. And in Chile, just everything that you guys have been telling us about now, it's like that just sounds like such a crazy mix of things to be dealing with as you go into an election. And then you have this far right candidate, this left wing candidate who, as Mauricio was saying earlier, is not this like far left, communist as we understand communism. But is actually more of like maybe center
Bernie
left
Sanders.
Bernie
Democrat.
Sanders, Alexandria
Yeah,
Ocasio
yeah,
Cortez,
yeah.
Um,
Jagmeet Singh.
Yeah, but like you go into this election and it's between, um it's like I said, on the one side you have this like far right candidate. It's between that and then Gabriel Boric, who won the election.
Who is younger than me?
Yes.
This-
He's
But
like
this is
what,
a
35 years old?
this is a
Mauricio,
coalition, though, right,
Mike,
guys? This
we just
is
became pretty useless.
I'm like a grandfather, man. Like
That's-
seriously.
I was reading that he was like a student organizer at one point, and he's been involved in like activism over the years, and um so this is pretty
So he
cool,
knows a little
guys.
praxis. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, like
We are we are changing a political generation. Uh, Yesterday we have a very hard sign. We are racing with the old guys. Even us, I'm too old for this political movement.
Good
yeah,
for you, man. Good for you.
It's such a shift. It's such a shift just
Yeah.
from everything you're describing, and
Yeah.
it's encouraging, I think, for us to see this, because what we've been seeing a lot over these past several years is the right wingers gaining power, the far right politicians getting elected, and these backwards conservative ideas getting more support, right? But it's like, with Chile right now, it's like you guys just like you chose the opposite of that. Like that must feel so incredible to know that you're moving in the opposite direction of that, even though,
Of most of the world.
yeah.
But you
But
guys were on that far spectrum for most of your recent history, though. So this is a big shift, which is
yeah,
great.
yeah. I wanted to say that even though with the recent election of Boric as president-elect, sounds like Bailey said, we are moving on the opposite direction. The full picture is not quite clear on that sense, because in the first round of the president's election we also had to vote for parliament, and on parliament it's basically a tie between the left and the right. Most of things that are on body government program require a high quorum and a high voting percentage
More than 50
in
plus
each
one.
chamber of parliament. Yeah, more than 50%. That is a clause established on Pinochet's constitution to avoid big reform. So our only hope in that sense is that the new constitutions reduces it. But even if they do it, we still have some at least, I don't know, a year and a half, that we still have to deal with that quorum. So that is one of the reasons why Boric, between the first round and now the runoff election, he in some sense moderated some of the positions on his program to try to attract voters from the center left and the center to place himself as a better alternative to his counterpart.
Wow.
Yeah,
Because
that's
sorry, because
no,
at the
go
end,
go ahead, Mauricio.
at the end, this election was a fight between democratic and totalitarianism or
Totalitarianism. Yeah.
authoritarianism, something like that. What won was the democratic consciousness. That was unite all the people, or the majority.
Mhm.
We want democracy. That was at the end, and a lot of hope to change. But at least we just want democracy, and we want to respect the human rights. That is basic in this country, because our culture doesn't respect the human rights. it's a cultural situation. So it's hard.
Well, it's like Esteban just mentioned that even though Boric won, Cast got a lot of votes. So
Yeah.
those ideals that Cast perpetuates are still there, right? And there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that support that. It's like here, when we just had our election, the turnout for the far right party in some places was higher than the far left party, like double digits higher.
Yeah.
And our far right party is basically literal Nazis. Like, this is
Yeah.
so this is the status the world over. Like Bailey was saying, it's amazing that like it moves the dial. It's not the win we all hope and want, you know, like it's not somebody that's coming in waving the proud socialism flag and saying we're going to seize the means and nationalize the public utilities anymore. Has Boric talked about renationalizing some of the industries?
Barely.
That'd be a
Just
touchy subject, probably.
yeah, exactly. Because the idea of the state here in Chile as a source, as an engine of development and of enterprise by itself is not very well looked upon by a fraction of the population. So I think that the only I think there were only two proposals from Boric regarding like state enterprise. One was public media because some of the newspapers and media organizations that the state held back in the day for informing the population were privatized during Pinochet's era and through the return to democracy also. So that's one thing, and the other is a national lithium company. You may know that Chile has a lithium outpost in the north, and currently just one private company is operating there. So Boric has proposed to create a national and a state company to deal with that natural resource. I think that those were
And
probably the only two proposals with the idea of a state enterprise, as far as I can remember. And that for me is an evidence that actually, as Mauricio said, Boric has had the approval of the Communist Party of Chile, but not an inch of his program was actually the path toward the dictatorship of the proletariat or the end of the state in name of the workers, something like that.
Yeah, and it's
one
kind
more
of a.
thing-
Oh, go for it.
One more thing about the water. The water is at the end is private. So if you have the right to consume water, and in some valleys, the water is from a mine, for example, or from a farm, and you don't have water for the population, for the people.
As I
So-
said before, the Constitution prioritizes right to property and right to enterprise. So water is there mainly as a commodity. So yeah, you can drink it, but if a corporation, as Mauricio said, a farm or a mine has a right to water, a right to I don't know 20 gallons per second,
They take the priority versus you.
they take the priority, and there is not a legal framework to protect first and foremost the people's access to water. And all the attempts that we have attempted from I don't know 1990 till today to change that framework have been blocked by two ways. First, through our constitutional court that has says, hey, first and foremost, there's right to property. And secondly, because of the high quorums in parliament. We needed, I think, 3/5 or 2/3 of the Senate to change the framework through the access of water. and we got like 54%. We still got a majority, but it wasn't the majority that the Constitution asked for. So we weren't able to
What is your
change.
voter turnout like, just out of curiosity? Like how many
Sorry,
people
what?
like how many people in the election vote
Oh,
as like a percentage of the
And I just
population?
got a quick follow up question of the water thing, though, real quick. Really, really quick. Is Chile the country where there was a country I heard. I think it was somewhere.
Acá es ilegal recoger agua de lluvia.
no.
Okay, okay.
I do remember that we're in that country illegal to collect rainwater.
Yeah, I can't remember where that was. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's
to my
illegal to take the water from the river
Oh, really?
Okay.
yeah, and you can't just
in,
divert
in
a
a
river
in a
in
certain
Canada
amount.
either. Like you can't just all of a sudden go to a body of water and just re-divert the water. That's
Well,
Right.
quite common.
We
But
have found some businessmen trying to do that, and sometimes the authorities have been able to spot them out and to find them.
yeah, but
Yeah.
next thing you know, you've redirected the flow of an entire river.
Yeah.
No, I mean a fraction. Just
Yeah.
like to place a tube on the river and to
Yeah.
get a bit of flow.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And groundwater too.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
election, what's the turnout like? Like in Canada, we have horrible voter apathy, and we're lucky if we get 50% of the people casting votes.
Our situation is practically the same. We
Yeah.
have voluntary vote here, and this round of election has been the election with the most voter turnout as a percentage of all the people that can vote since we established voluntary voting. This time we got 55% of all possible people, and it has usually fluctuated between 45 and 50%.
Okay.
Even less, a little less.
I mean, I'm talking about parliamentary and presidential elections. When it comes to regional and local elections, the turnout is even less.
Yeah. SPAN just said that 50 million
Wow.
So that's yeah, that's
Like
pretty
Canada.
similar. This is people are dissuaded with democracy because there's nothing that represents them. But that's a conversation for another time. So
Yeah.
what are your guys' hope for Chile in the future now? Like what are you hoping to as the, Pirate Party representatives, other than them throwing out copyright law? What are you guys hoping for over the next, say, 18 months?
We are on the pandemic. That's our issue now for the next year. The pandemic and the economic situation because it's too hard in this moment. And that's what the new government
What
will
most
face.
governments are doing right now too. Yeah.
So even to this coalition, this government, to make a lot of changes because we need to face the pandemic, the economic situation, and has, as Manuel said, the parliament in a half and a half from right and left. So maybe doesn't happen in the next year.
Yeah.
But this is better because with cast the other candidate, we will return to the 20th century. We will return or with less right for women, for LGBT community, for indigenous people, everybody at the end. So even if nothing happened in the next year or in the next 2 years, it will a better situation.
Right. At least you won't have a fascist president and a
Yep.
fascist party in power.
Yeah.
right? And that's obviously anything is better than that. And I mean, it's hard because I think there's a lot of politicians out there who are maybe further to the left than their public personas make them out to be. I think a lot of politicians have to kind of water down their messages a little bit to appeal to the larger population and not just people who identify with that particular
Pleasing the means.
yeah, exactly. So like, with Gabriel Boric, it's like um maybe he's not this like radical communist president, right? That the media, I guess, is making him out to be. But it's like you said, he's still the more reasonable option. He's still, way better than having a fascist in power. And if he can kind of start to appeal to the larger population, if he can appeal to them enough to get voted in, you never know, like some of these ideas that you might think of as more radical left or whatever, like maybe those will slowly start to get more accepted in society, and maybe people will start to open their minds a little more and be open to things that maybe they never would have been in the past. Because just the fact that the right wing candidate, just from what you guys are describing, just the fact that the right wing candidate did not win, I think says a lot. And, we've all kind of agreed this is such a big shift, and it sends such a huge message. Do you think there's a possibility that, I mean, maybe realistically, nothing could happen, as you were saying, but do you think there's a chance of people kind of opening themselves up to new ideas and, things that really aren't that radical but get
Yeah,
considered
absolutely.
radical?
Polling here done by private corporations throughout the last 8 years, we're constantly asking things about like gay marriage and abortion, for example. And
Yeah.
slowly but surely, the Overton window on those particular issues were began to shift to the point that now a majority of the population believes on the freedom of non-heterosexual couples to marry, and for women to decide in some point of pregnancy to terminate if they want. And given that, given the power that the Constitution right now gives the presidency in a wide variety of situations, I really believe that the position and the influence, at least social, of the presidency could be able to shift our society's interpretation or perspective on some issues. The first two that I believe that could change are workers' rights, especially the reputation of the concept of a union that here is a bit frowned upon, mainly by a portion, for example, of the middle class. Just to give an example, my mother works in a public hospital, and she doesn't have a good impression of syndicates because uh, from her realm, it's only seen like, for example, the protection from firing for the president of the union, but not the power of negotiation and the broader aspect of having representatives of the area of healthcare. I don't know, discussing wages and benefits. That's a battle that President Boric has been holding since he was a student leader. When he was a student leader, he belonged to a movement called Autonomous Left that based themselves on the autonomous interpretation of Marxism. I don't know if you remember it. The one more closer, I think, to Rose Luxemburg and Antonio Gramsci. The idea
Anarchist.
of autonomous organizations and a grassroots solution to the war of the classes, to give it a name. So I remember, like, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, there was an interview to Boric in a newspaper. I think it was, "What's your year's resolution?" Something like that. And he said, "I want to increase adherence to unions from like 8% that we have now to 16%. That isn't a lot, but it will already be a complete shift on our appreciation of unions. That's one thing that I think that it could radically change in these 4 years. And the other is the environment. Not like in other countries like Brazil or Colombia, that anyone that raises his or her voice against a development project that might harm the environment might very probably end up with a bullet between their eyes. Here, fortunately, we don't have that situation a lot, but we still do. The case of environmental leaders speaking up about issues, and them receiving threats either by public figures of the I don't know, businessmen or coalitions of enterprises, or anonymous, to the point of death threats, and a few cases that we know of environmental leaders dying in suspicious circumstances. The Latin American solution to that is the Escazú Agreement, a legal international framework to facilitate citizen involvement in the decision-making process on environmental grounds and the protection of environmental leaders. This government, the government of Sebastián Piñera, actively looked down on the idea of joining the agreement with shifting arguments. One day they said that our national framework was way better than the international agreement, and on the other, they said just that they had some concerns about the impact on, I think, property and enterprise. What a coincidence! But um, Bodic has a reputation, I know personally, of working, for example, with the Heinrich Böll Stiftung, the international non-government organization of Germany regarding the environment. So at least in those two realms, I really think that even though he only has 4 years, there could be a deep shift on the Overton window here in Chile.
That's
And
great, and hopefully that is what happens. But either way, even small changes in the right direction, um, again, way better than having fascists in power. Ooh,
one
yeah,
one more thing is the political participation. Our political system put out of the system a lot of people. Uh, in the 19th century, they when we found this country, only the richest can participate of the decision making. Then we start to include more people, but with the voluntary vote and all the political campaign against the politicians and the politic, our society is very far or apart from the political issues until 2019. But even the people really don't involve because we broke the social network in the dictatorship and with the uh, how you said
So
transition
you
to
really,
democracy.
yeah, so you
So
really don't have a culture of protest and fighting against the government
not just
so much.
protest, yeah, but participate in the
yeah,
unions
Yeah.
or
yeah,
with the neighborhood. You know?
yeah, direct
So,
action.
yeah,
We are
Yeah,
really
organizing.
individualist. So uh, it's a it's really a hard work to really establish a political community in our society from the square, from the neighborhood to the government. And we hope, we have a lot of hope that change with Boric. He include in the decision the participation of social organizations. So we want and expect that at the end of his government, the society has empowered.
Yeah, there is a really astounding poll done to, I think, high schoolers in Chile's capital, Santiago, done, I think, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, in which a plurality of those polled said that they would accept a dictatorship if their personal security or order was guaranteed. So the results that we saw yesterday between Bodic and Cast aren't that surprising in that perspective, and that is linked to what Mauricio said. Through the dictatorship, and afterwards, our social tissue, if we could give it a name, of involving in our communities and of collective actions towards certain goals have been um, uh, slowly but surely eroding. The classic case for me is the fact that students' organizations through high schools and universities have uh, less and less participation each year, to the point that some of them cannot even sustain themselves because of the lack of participations. So we end up in a situation where only direct action is by the tool by excellence, like to solve a personal problem. The idea of joining forces with your peers in your community, in your in your place of work, is not very considered usually. So that's what Mauricio says, that maybe with Bodic there is now a new force to push us through towards a social organization to rebuild that tissue that we once had, but we since lost.
So there's changes happening at all levels, and these changes are kind of helping other changes, and it just, yeah, that's so cool. That's such an exciting time to be living in Chile.
Just got to keep the right wingers out. That's all, right? There's
Yeah.
another election in 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what comes next for the Pirate Party in Chile?
A lot, actually, a lot.
Yeah.
Right on.
The Pirate Party of Chile is awesome. I'll just say that.
Well, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you have if you guys had, say, a 10 to 20 year vision for Chile, like long term now, where do you see Chile? Do you see it using some of its natural resources to leverage itself a little, kind of like, oil rich countries maybe and stuff like that? Or do you see it a different way? Like how do you see Chile in like 10 years or so?
That's a good question.
I mean, you guys have a lot of you got a lot of natural resources, right?
We produce natural resources, commodities. We need to develop, and we are doing it, as something like a knowledge industry, a software industry, maybe, beside these natural resources. So we need to complex our production and economy. This is one thing. But we need some basis. We need education. We need healthcare. We need pensions. We need houses. We need work. We need salaries, more justice. So we need to up the standard because more people. We need more as some kind of people could say we need more human resources or human capital.
Yeah, human capital,
Yeah.
brain power, like
Yeah,
the
human capital.
Yeah. We
That's
we
where
need more.
educational help out
We
too,
need,
right?
for example, just an example. Around 6 years, Chile has recognized it as the principal place to the adventure tourist. It's a nice place. We have desert, we have uh, mountains, we have snow, we have ice, we have a lot of things. We have sea. To the this kind of tourism is really important. In Chile, we have a lot of beautiful places. We don't speak English. We study and go out from the school and we don't speak English. We go to the university and we don't speak English. So, how you will develop the tourism industry if you don't speak English? And this is it, just one example of the stupidity of our country, of our leaders. The, the main potential of our country in places, in landscapes, and we can speak with the people who can, and more. We don't know our history or our geography, so we can tell to the visitors what happened here, what happened in this place, in another place, what happened with the Spains, with the indigenous population, what happened with our history, with our politicians. We really have a very low level of education. So you can talk with a visitor. You don't have nothing to tell him. Just to invite them to taste our delicious wine and delicious drinks, our pisco. And
Chilean wine is some of the best in the world.
It's true.
You guys don't something about the sulfites or something like that. There's like a fungus or
if you
something
come
that
to
you don't
Chile,
have.
every Chilean can be drunk with you. I guarantee. We love to be drunk.
Excellent, excellent. When's
Yeah.
the best time to visit Chile?
Yes.
Yeah, what's the best time of year to go to Chile?
It depends what you want to do. If you want
Not
to go to the desert,
freeze.
if you want to go to the beach, if you want to go to the rainy zones, or it depends.
I
I
don't
want to get totally fucking shit faced with you, Mauricio. And
On the
November
beach.
and
On the
December.
From September till February, then.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right.
October to
Start making plans.
January, it's very good time.
Fiestas.
Mauricio-
Right.
What is
What
Fiestas
Mauricio-
Patrias? Esteban
That's
saying we should come to
Independence Day.
Fiestas Patrias to have some
Yeah.
terremotos.
In
Yeah.
September. It's a very good time.
What's a terremotos?
Yep.
That's a mix of a fermented grape juice, especially a special fermented grape juice, not particularly wine, mixed with pineapple ice cream.
What?
Oh,
Wow.
What?
this sounds good.
Okay, I need to.
And rum or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and another liquor to give it that trembling sensation.
Of course. Of course.
But what Mauricio was trying to say here is that trying to project the nation 10 years, 20 years into the future, I also believe in what he's saying, that if we are able to thoroughly and profoundly solve our current problems, then we are really at an opportunity of establishing ourselves as a leader country within the region and within the globe, both in economic independence and in attractiveness, both to tourism and for business. We are at the crossroads, for example, of joining the Chinese team or the American team in the new Cold War, and through that we can also see that, for example, our deserts are very good for solar power. So we have the opportunity of exporting electrical
And you also have the lithium for the
energy
batteries. Like
to
you've got it
yeah
all.
but we have the potential to lead South America, for example, exporting energy and batteries. But that is only if we can develop our industry towards that goal. If we only import human resources, as Mauricio said, to to um, to accomplish that, then afterwards, those foreigners with the talent and the intellectual tools to do that will then go to another country for their next challenge. We need to train our comrades to do that, and that's where we're lacking, as Mauricio said. There is the opportunity. I also believe that with Boric as president, there is a window, an entry to discuss that, because he also talked about that before. The idea that we have to add value to our production, not only sell the raw materials. And fortunately, that's a thing that it is shared. I would go as far to say as the whole political spectrum. There are parts on the right, the center right, and the far right that I know that agree on the idea that we are only a bunch of drunk commodity sellers and nothing more. So I think that if we start to talk with ourselves about these problems and ways to thoroughly solve them, then we can see a truly prosper future for Chile in that perspective. But if and only if we're able.
So there's a long, long road ahead. And I mean, this election is just the first step, and hopefully you guys win the next one, right? And then probably the next one. So you've got a lot of fighting to do, probably a lot of organizing to do. And now's the time you have an opportunity to do so, because just in case the next election doesn't quite go your way, because it sounds like you still have a lot of folk there that are still in that old mindset, I would say.
We also have the problem that the other side is very good at spreading lines. I swear to God, they just photocopied the Trump's handbook on dealing with
Yeah.
elections.
They all do that nowadays. They do it in Canada too.
Maybe you were able to see how fast our electoral authorities are at displaying preliminary results. 1.5 million votes in 3/4 of an hour. And even with all that in place, the morning after, in social media, there were allegations of fraud from behalf of some sympathizers of the far right candidate.
Yeah, well, it's those Canadian communists influencing your election. We stole your
Yeah.
election and forced Gabriel Boric to be elected. So
Yeah.
And there are some very gullible ones. I remember that at the beginning of the social eruption on 2019, there was a story being spread through social media that there was a communist Russian agent organizing all these stuffs, and it was a freaking drag queen from Boston. That just because she has a Russian name, they all believed it, and
Oh
then
my gosh.
they had to debunk it.
yeah, well,
That's
sometimes
hilarious.
when
Wow.
people want to believe things, it makes it really easy to convince them of like the most ridiculous stuff. So
So past throughout the run of campaign, he permanently was saying, "Is a fight between freedom and communism." and he kept repeating that.
And
Even
I have
though if we dig a little bit deeper, we know that that's not the case. It's easy to start shouting that out throughout the
Communism.
country, and when you have the money also to spread that idea, that's what we are fighting against.
Yeah, they do that
Yeah.
here, and they do that in the United States. Yeah, they do it all
Oh
over.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The
and
new
it's
method
either
of
I have
them or it's freedom.
yeah.
I have to say
Yeah.
one thing. In favor of our Communist Party. Our Communist Party is a democratic party because we are moved to the right. So our communists are like socialists, or I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They don't want the economy in the hand of the state. For example, they want in the hand of the state just the basic resources like water, like education. But that's what's happening everywhere. it's
Yeah.
not a it's not a communist policy.
yeah.
So
I'm more
Yeah.
distant than Mauricio is regarding the Communist Party. I'm more to the center than even the Communist Party is, and I'm even capable of recognizing that throughout the program, particularly of the Communist Party, there isn't a lot of stuff talking about re-estatizing enterprises or forbidding private enterprise or things like that. I have talked with members of parliament of the Communist Party, and they are more focused on community
Wait.
development.
Hold on one second. Did you say you have communist members of parliament?
Yeah, yeah. We currently
Wait.
have.
You do understand that these are communists. They're the bad guys according to society, right? Like, over here, commies are the bad ones.
Yeah, we'd never have a communist member of parliament here. That's
They,
Well, here,
our
here,
communist
here,
party
though. But
was made illegal.
Yeah. Well, here it's like, um, communist. It's seen as like Stalinism, basically. Like if you say communism, if you talk about communism, people automatically think Stalinism,
Yeah.
right?
Cold War, Russians invading.
Yeah.
So what
But
were you
it's
saying?
it's like yeah.
What were you saying? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
We
no.
interrupted.
Our point basically here, what we're trying to tell you is that our Communist Party is more focused on gaining back on those social rights that we lost through the dictatorship and afterwards. And in regard to the economy, mainly like focusing like the regions and the municipalities on some of that economic development that the state hasn't been able to do.
So
The flagship case is that one of the municipalities in the capital, Santiago, the municipality of Recoleta, has been on the hands of the Communist Party for at least 8 years, and their main policy has been to place a municipal entity to deal with a problem. For example, we had for a long time an issue with price of medicine because drugstores here in Chile, for a moment, 90% of them were in the hands of three main conglomerates. So they were able to rig sometimes the prices up. So Mayor Hadwe had the idea of establishing a popular drugstore, and then
wow.
the idea worked, and other mayors throughout the country started replicating that. So that
even
to me
Riley
sounds
mayors.
more like a social democrat, a socialist,
Yeah.
a libertarian socialist than an absolute communist. So
Yeah.
it has all the characteristics of a mere red scare, what we have been having these last couple of weeks.
I
Well,
think
Uh,
maybe
Matt,
Denmark,
sorry, I was
Sweden
gonna
are
go.
more communist than our Communist Party.
Yeah. So it's all about where you're kind of, I guess seeing things, I guess, because it's like, you think communist, you think like Stalinism and like this like radical left wing, stuff, but like, a lot of the stuff we see this even with people like Bernie Sanders, right? Where
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's talking, yeah. He's talking about basic stuff like healthcare and a lot of human rights related stuff, and people are like communist,
I,
like
I,
it's
I
insane.
don't know if you remember when the whole like Jimmy Dore is shifting to the right scandal
Yes.
that was promoted in social media. I remember there was a sketch done by someone that sympathized with Dore that placed Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the center of the spectrum and Biden on the right.
Yep.
And then they said, let's compromise, and they arrived on the center right.
Yep.
Yeah.
You could replace Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with our center-left coalition and Joe Biden with our center-right coalition, and that is the result of the last 20 years. And
Yeah.
you could place Boric a bit more on the left, and the same result because of the current state of parliament and the constitution is still going to be a compromise. But the shift on the Overton window it will still be a shift to the left.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
think
what we.
shifting back, what you guys are doing basically is you're trying to shift back some of those neoliberal policies
Yeah.
that have been
Yeah.
kicking around for so long, and doing it on the municipal level is really interesting. So there's a lot of places doing that.
Well,
Uh,
this is, I know that's what the right is focused on in the States as well, is they're really getting engaged in like the school trustee level of politics to the municipal politicians. Because once you control the municipalities, you can also start to take it into federal,
Mm,
right? Like
mm.
you strengthen your base at the lower level. You think of the political tree as grassroots. Start with the school boards and your local town council,
Yeah,
city
I'm
council.
interested. Yeah.
a difference there is that we don't elect school boards or sheriffs or judges. So we are basically left with mayors, city hall members. Now, just this year, we have now regional governors. And we have members of parliament and the presidency. That's all our the elected positions that we could be voting for in our country.
Well,
So,
as a
given that,
statist, that sounds like enough.
Yeah. I
you
just
know,
want to say,
my point is that given that Chile is a centralized state, not a federal one that they like the United States, there has always been the idea of giving power back to the regions. Even we are close to the point that 1 in 3 Chileans live in the capital. So the idea of regions gaining back on the wealth produced on their own region, not going back to Santiago, and to have a say on their own policy is a constant fight here that also Boric has embraced. So here, the idea of bringing power back to the municipalities have been considered another trench, another front on the fight towards social justice. Sometimes.
yeah. I
Interesting.
just want to interrupt real quick. Obviously, we can keep the conversation going and stuff. I just want to interrupt because Mauricio sent me a message. Mauricio is saying he has to take off. Thank you so much for joining us. It was so good to have you here, and I hope you have
Thanks,
a wonderful
Mauricio.
night. And talk to you soon for sure.
Yeah, and keep us updated on what's going on with the
Yes.
Chilean communists there, Mauricio. Because when I come to Chile, we're definitely
Now,
going to talk some
just
Trotsky memes.
just for the record,
Yeah.
Matt's the communist. Me and Bailey are more of the anarchist types.
But
A narco pirate right here.
we have communists, real ones, more to the left, at the far left, and anarchists and another kind of political people. We have to. But our Communist Party,
Yeah.
they participate in a government with the Christian Democrats
Yeah.
in the same government. It's kind of communists we are talking about.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
But
So it's the Communist Party, but they're not real communists, basically.
communist light.
Yeah.
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 For
We have
our
like
right,
4 movements called communist parties here in Chile, calling the main one yellow or light, as you say, and
They're
that's the one.
communist only in
They're
Yeah.
name, kind of
pinkos.
like
They're
the
pinkos.
Democratic Republic of Congo is not a democratic
Yeah,
republic,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
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 Excellent. Well, thank you very
Well,
much,
guys,
Mauricio.
bye.
Buenas noches.
Thank you. It was a very good
Good
time.
evolution,
Thank you,
everyone.
Bailey, for the invitation.
Have a
Bye,
good night,
Mike. Bye,
Mauricio.
Matthew. Bye,
Buenas
Manuel.
noches, camarada.
See you. Yeah. And long life to the pirate party.
Yes. Yes. See you at
See ya.
Pirate Beer.
Yes. See you on the next pirate beer. Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Good
bye.
night.
Good night.
So, Manuel, you're more than welcome to hang out with us still.
Yeah. Is there anything like before we before we think about switching topics, is there anything else related to the election that just happened
Or
there
just
that you
Chile
want
in
to,
general that we need
or
to know.
anything, yeah, anything to do with Chile that you'd like people to know?
I think I don't know in particular. I'm not an expert in the area, but there is a lot of talk now about the idea of, as you Bailey said before, the generational change through this presidency, because Boric would be the first millennial president in Chile's history. All the other presidents that we have had since the end of the dictatorship were born through or before the dictatorship. But it would be the first change on that pace. It's more, I think that the change between the current president Piñera and the next one Boric is the biggest like net change of age between presidents in Chile's history. I think like 74 against 36.
Yeah, there's like 40 years there. It's a nice dynamic to see. I'm a little disappointed I didn't see it when I was in my 30s, but I hold strong hope because, like in the States, I've got big hopes for AOC in 2024, right?
I
Like this
was
is,
an idiot in my 30s, so
yeah, yeah. Well, this is for the youth of Chile. It says the big message of the ideas you want to have happen. It's not just the old white-haired guys anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that's why when one of you asks what will be the next forward steps for the Chilean Pirate Party, some of them that we have discussed, for example, is the creation of a think tank to push forward with our constituent assembly that is writing the new constitution, and towards parliament and the presidency. Like if we want to push something, either like I don't know, copyright reform, cooperative enterprises empowerment,
great idea.
loyalty to science regarding public health, things like that, we may be able to push it through the use of the think tank, for example. And the other thing is the creation and the enhancement of our student and university cells, so
Excellent.
that we can bring more youth and students to the political discourse and to collaborate with the President Boric when we need to, and to criticize them in an organized manner when it is needed. But I also wanted to talk about the idea that it's constantly talked about in Latin America of the shift of the continent. You may remember that on the lines of 2005 to 2006, some people were talking that the continent was shifting to the left because you had Cristina Fernandez, Evo Morales, Hugo Chavez,
Chavez.
Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva, and Michelle Bachelet here in Chile. And after that, you had the shift with Bolsonaro, Macri, Duque, Kuczynski, Arce in Bolivia, and Piñera here in Chile. Now, with the election of Boric, we maybe are in a situation that the continent is tight because you have Maduro, Castillo, Arce, Fernandez, and Boric on one side, and you have Abdo, Bolsonaro, Lasso, and Duque on the other side. So I was hearing today in the news, and I found it interesting that maybe because of his youth and the generational change, Boric could be a bridge between the two sectors of the continent when discussing issues that affect the whole region, because one of his foreign policy priorities will be South American and Latin American integration. So, for example, the problem that we have with migration from Venezuela, he may be encouraged to take a more dialogue positive approach with the rest of the countries in the region, rather than an interventionist point that the right wing section of the continent has been advocating for the last couple of years. So I think that because of those reasons, the generational change, the opportunities within the region, and the fact that we don't have some of the legal and economical obstacles that we have seen in the United States, for example, the power of lobbying of institutions and the gridlock between the powers and the state, because we don't have those problems, maybe we will be able to deal with the problems that Mauricio and I were saying once and for all within this government, or the short term or medium term in the future. So because of those reasons, yeah, definitely keep an eye out for what's coming up here in Chile.
Well, I hope you keep us in the loop on that. Obviously, you will, because I keep getting invited to these pirate gatherings.
Oh God. That was a very positive sort of way that we can end that one right there. So
Yeah.
I
And
think that's.
Manuel,
Go ahead, Bailey.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I
Okay,
realized
go
I
ahead.
interrupted you.
Okay, no, go ahead.
I just want to say, you and Mauricio are now on the Indignants Discord server. Please feel free to stick around and share anything, any information
Or drop by
related.
anytime.
Yeah, and just like
Thank
come
you.
hang out and say hi anytime. Yeah,
We're
you guys are
usually
more
in
than
here a couple
welcome.
times a week and prepping for
Yeah,
shows and just
just
talking. So
talking, and yeah, so definitely. But we definitely want to keep up with what's happening down there and keep the conversation going.
Because I
that
think
last little bit that you said right there made me feel really inspired for you. You know, that sounds really
Yeah.
hopeful.
What was the
Happy.
energy like in the streets? I mean, I saw like a video or two about like people were like celebrating in the streets. Did you go out and?
If you were able to see the postcard photograph of the celebrations in Santiago, I'm one of the little dots on the street, besides
Nice.
the scenario where Boric was then giving his speech. I had to run like 2 kilometers to find a subway station that wasn't closed for me to get back home, because
wow,
the sea of people was insurmountable.
Wow.
That's amazing.
that must feel
Yeah.
good. That must feel good.
Yeah.
Like, so,
Yeah, absolutely.
well done. Well done.
Yes. Congrats again. Yeah, it's just it's really awesome. Like I didn't even know there was an election happening in Chile until I saw the posts about it in the Global Pirates chat. And yeah, just the fact that that happened for you guys down there,
It
that's
even gives me
amazing.
hope.
And same here. Same
Yeah.
here. It
Yeah.
definitely you know, we're pretty far from you guys. We're way up north in Canada, but you know,
And
We
we're
have a
not
lot
quite
of the
asserting.
same
inspired.
struggles. We
Yeah,
have a
but it's
lot of
not.
the
Oh
same
yeah.
struggles.
But it's
Yeah.
not quite as bad. Like we probably spend 2/3 of our income on rent, whereas you guys spend more than your income on rent. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah, but
we're catching up. You know.
yeah.
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 Now that you mention it, one thing that neither Mauricio nor I mentioned at the beginning is the fact that, for example, mortgage lending contracts here in Chile, on behalf of the banks to purchase new homes, till this year were usually being signed with the prospect of 20 years mortgage. And now, because of the economic situation, they scrapped that, and now they are pointing towards 30 years mortgage.
Yeah, because rather than making housing affordable, we make borrowing more affordable,
Mhm.
right? Like, rather than that house costing you less, we're going to just give you more time to pay it off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's typical neoliberal stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think we should do something that's a little bit light, but funny, but yet kind of
Not
disturbing all the same
funny.
time.
Yeah,
It's mixed feelings about this.
Yeah, I'm just gonna issue a trigger warning here that if you are a sensitive, pale-skinned,
Right wing.
maybe if you're a vampire and you're afraid of daylight, if you look like Edward,
Right.
you may be
right.
upset with our next topic that we're
And
covering.
we're not talking about goths or anything. We're talking about something more pale.
Yes, so there's a word that has been being used on streams lately, what that people are no longer allowed to say, and because we stream on one of these platforms, we are replacing this word with the term biscuit. So
Me and Bailey don't
We'll
agree.
see how long that lasts.
if you know what Ritz biscuits are, or maybe you like some Breton biscuits.
So let me explain this a little bit. So there's a bad word for black people, and apparently there's supposed to be a bad word for white people. This word is like a biscuit, but it's not a biscuit. It's a
yeah. Well,
So
apparently you can get banned. Apparently
So
you can get
apparently,
banned.
yeah, you can get banned. And
But on
okay,
that
tell us-
note, I'm gonna go get some soup, and I've got some crackers in the cupboard. So
Yeah.
oh,
There
I
we
love
go.
crackers in my
I love.
soup.
I really love cheese and crackers too.
so I'm gonna actually, before I do that, I'm gonna fade over to this so people know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So this past week, literally a week ago, Hassan Piker, one of the top political commentators on Twitch and in the media today, was banned for saying the word biscuit.
You know what? And another very prominent leftist YouTuber, streamer, Twitcher, Bosch, was also banned.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what is there to say about that? Really? Like,
So I don't know.
mean,
You want to
it's-
scroll
so-
down a little bit on that? Let's see what it says here.
So I was like scrolling an article earlier, and it was like, I think it was
Make
a
sure
statement
you
from
eat your crackers.
Yep.
I love, like, when I have my soup, I usually have a big bowl of tomato soup, Campbell's tomato soup, by the way. Love it. A little bit of milk in it. And I put a lot of crackers on top, and then I like spoon it in, right?
Yeah.
Get the crackers all kind of, not super
Turn it into a
mushy,
stew?
but
Like a cracker
no.
stew.
So there's a little bit of crisp to it, but the cracker still absorbs a little bit of the soup, and that's the way I like it.
Yeah, so what this really comes down to is there's a
You know what we're
crisis.
doing here. We're playing on the word, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a crisis of white fragility.
Yeah.
There's this notion that that stems from the alt-right that whiteness is slowly being eliminated, that there's a movement to de-ethnoize certain regions and certain countries.
It's
And-
called the Great Replacement.
The
Yes.
white
The
genocide.
Great
Yes,
Replacement.
the great
Yeah.
replacement. And because of this, there's certain members on that side of society that are looking for anything that they can claim offense over.
Mm-hmm.
Now, me personally, if you want to call me a biscuit, I'm not going to get offended. Like this, I understand the historical consequences for my ancestors, what they have done to other people, that if you want to call me a
Yeah.
biscuit, I totally deserve it.
Yeah.
I don't take offense to it. To me, when somebody calls me a biscuit, it means maybe I'm just not quite racist, but not quite learned enough to know that the stuff I'm saying is racist. Like
So-
it's
Yeah.
Did Hassan reply? I'd like to know. Did we have a little? We could show this. Was there a video of Hassan
let me
replying
see what
to?
I can find here.
Yeah, I don't think we can do that.
Yes, there is. I can't show the clip in question. Because it says
Because it has the word.
I think we should play it.
I have
I
what
think
I
it's
can
worth
do,
it.
actually, I've got something here. We can do the majority report.
Oh, okay.
So just
Hey,
bear
that's my
with me one
favorite
Yeah,
show,
I
second
by the
here.
mean,
way, Majority Report. Sam Cedar.
So yeah,
He's a
just to bring you,
god.
like, Manuel,
it's
are you familiar with who Hassan Piker is?
I was calling on Twitter, and
Yep.
I think June Lapin, Shuon Head, retweeted the account that is the watchdog on bans, and said Hassan Ali has been banned, and then a couple of posts later, Vosh had been banned. But I never dug out what was the reason. So I'm baffled to see that was the reason.
Okay, well, let's see what we got here. Just bear with me one second here. We're going to flip over to Hassan Piker and his appearance on the Majority Report with Sam Cedar.
It's this. It's our cracker and cheese segment. Huh?
Biscuits.
We got him. And our first guest on our new crackers and cheese segment is Hassan Piker. Hello, Hassan. Welcome. Congratulations.
What's going on? I just wanted to say hello from a fellow cracker.
Uh,
From one cracker to another.
We don't have any cheese today, but this is because we didn't do it. But so we do have the crackers. So dude,
Where
you got
did our
banned
crackers
from
go? You just brought
Twitch.
out crackers.
I sure did. I got a fat
Did you put them away
7-day,
already?
ban from
Actually, I
Twitch
probably
for,
shouldn't have that right.
my usage of the horrific, racially charged, incendiary, and absolutely unacceptable term, cracker.
I think we're getting your computer audio, not your microphone.
Oh, hold on. Let me
I
change
do
it up real
apologize.
quick.
We are
Wow.
trying to
See, I
bleep
get
this
banned and I
offensive
forget
term,
how to
but
do that.
Yeah, man.
Well,
why are
Mr.
you
Bezos,
throwing
don't
us
ban
up?
us. I can't
Is,
find the mute
Crunch
button.
Master multi-seed, the original. We don't get any type of promotional support from this at all. We
Oh,
just
hell yeah.
just
You're just doing it for this because you got skin in the game. You just love the crackers. Wait, how does this sound now? Does it sound good?
that sounds great. Now, listen, I am of the mind that terms of service are the business of these private companies. But there seems to me to be a difference between the N word and the C word as
Are we doing that? We're just gonna say the C word?
I mean, we don't know which C word we're talking about because there's other words.
I was just
with
gonna
the C
say
word. And
that.
the reason why we don't know really is because there is not a long history of the use of the term crackers that has been associated with subjugating an entire segment of the population, right? Like words have a meaning that is invested in them by experience. Words in and of themselves mean nothing. It really is like, you know, some type of established history. But what's your take on that?
Well, I have a lot of takes on that. As a matter of fact, part of the reason why I did get banned is because I would not stop with my takes on this issue. But I'll just say this. If you say the C word and there's like 8 other words that come to mind before cracker, then I'm pretty sure, even if it's a part of the, Webster's dictionary definition of slurs that target a race, it's probably not, bad enough that it's ban worthy, which was my point to begin with, because I think that it's capitulating to white fragility and white identity politics, which goes against solidarity and solidarity among classes. And I think that it's totally silly. And all of the people that freaked out on me on Reddit and on Twitter are now doing touchdown dances and also making fun of how silly this was. Like, oh man, I'm so glad we banned him for we got him banned for saying the C word. It's just classic old Gamergate era 4chan style, politics from edgelords.
All right. So, I mean, give me your sense, like in terms of a term of service. Do you think like the N word should be allowed by Twitch or?
I
Frankie,
watch
stop playing it.
I watch a lot of Hassan, and I'd just like to point out that him saying cracker, oh sorry, biscuit
Ah,
is the least harmful thing that man can say in a stream, because he's routinely talking about fucking his viewers' moms if they don't shut the fuck up. So, like,
Well, it's just also like it's back to the white fragility thing. Like people who are offended by the word cracker in this context and who
Biscuit.
think it's biscuit and who think it's this like hateful offensive term, just like don't they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like Twitch doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like using the term biscuit is not at all, like they're saying, not at all in the same category as using the N-word. Like I think in Twitch's statement, or somebody wrote a statement about this saying that like, oh, it's like we can't tolerate anti-white racism, and it's like that's not a thing. Like if you're white, you're not a target of racism. You don't
you're not a target of systemic racism.
Right. But it's like, here's the thing. White people can experience prejudice, yes, right? People can be prejudiced against you. People can discriminate against you. Sure, that does happen. But it's not racism in the same way that this has been done to black and brown people throughout history. Like, it's just not the same thing.
I'm going to defer to the only person of color in the room right now, Manuel. What is your thought on something like this? I'm not even sure if you're familiar with the term cracker, but it's usually.
I hadn't remember that. Yeah, I had heard some people on English speaking Twitter mentioning that, especially in the realm of Schoenhead. But as a person that doesn't believe in what in the US and Canada is understood as identity politics and cancel culture, I think that just like from a plain pirate perspective, this is like a magnum opus when the state doesn't regulate a place where we interact usually. Then the private enterprise arrives, basically rules, and everyone gets screwed up because of that. It reminded me, for example, of the case of Identity and of Dr. Disrespect, because we also saw there cases in which Twitch took a decision, even if it was totally contradictory with previous stances of Twitch itself. They did it anyways, and we just had to deal with that.
Yeah, there's no oversight. There's no right of appeal. There's no.
Yeah. For example, here in Chile, there is a constitutional right to what we call honra y buen nombre, which the translation would be like reputation and good name. So I'm a law student. I had to investigate cases of women that try to cancel their sexual abusers online, and those abusers were able to appeal to the courts that their right to reputation and good name was being infringed through those posts on Instagram, for example, and the courts agreed with the potential abusers and told the potential victims to take those posts down because they were infringing on
kind
on
of
the
like
constitutional right to
anti-slander laws,
reputation.
right?
Yeah. So even if that sounds horrible, it's still a public and legally guaranteed way of resolving a dispute regarding being offended, if we could call it that way. So to me it's painful to see that, yeah, there is someone that is affecting you through internet, through the internet, through media. Yeah, it's a matter of the private corporation to solve. The government have nothing to do to protect you.
Now, at the same time, though, you can criticize public figures and politicians, though, right?
Yeah. There is a
In an honorable way,
notion
though.
there is a notion within those who study law that, yeah, public figures have a right to a good name, a right to reputation, but
Like I
they are
can't
also
say
they
I
are
can't
also responsible for the consequence of their actions, and those are
Mm.
a consequence of their actions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not being that those two things as a constitutional right here are not being used as a way for powerful people to crack down on dissent, fortunately.
Mhm.
Yeah, see, I'm of the vein now because, I am a communist that I think these private enterprises such as YouTube and Twitch, once you reach a certain size and a certain audience, common carrier rules should apply. Like they should be regulated the same way we regulate that. Like you are no longer like a service, you are providing a distribution, right? Like this
So
is
that comes to the crux of the problem, the commons, right? What we call the commons, what used to be the town square or the pub or the library or the place we used to meet and talk, the water cooler at work. We don't really have that anymore. The place we have that on is online. And the companies that are controlling it control speech. They control the algorithm. So, I think that's the crux of the problem. How do do we have to take like what
well,
Matt's saying, take over and regulate that so that it's
the laws are already on the books. At least in Canada, we have the CRTC, and in the States, they have the FTC. So these organizations already exist, just these private enterprises don't fall under their purview. Internet service providers do, right? Like, so the ISP is responsible for, like, Twitch's bandwidth provider is responsible for the content that Twitch puts out, right? Like, they can be told to take down Twitch and have to do it. But Twitch doesn't. Can just arbitrarily decide to do whatever they want. Facebook's the same. I'm currently on a ban on Facebook for calling somebody a Zionist. Like there's no appeal process. They say they have a board of appeals, but the only person that's getting an appeal at that level is Bill fucking Cosby, right? So
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, with when it comes to like Hassan's case here, it's just like I wonder like where are all the free speechers at, because like there's a lot of people who are out there talking about free speech, and thinking that free speech is like their right to say the N-word, right? But
Or say extremely defamatory things.
the problem is these platforms are too powerful. These platforms are too powerful because if I was to turn around and say, fuck Jeff Bezos and screw Twitch, eventually they're just going to deplatform me on Twitch.
Right? I think in some ways it sounds like Chile's got a better hand on media than we do, to be honest.
Not quite. I'm talking about we could say like routine, like daily use of the rights enshrined on the Constitution. The when it comes specifically to internet regulation and media regulation, we are not that lucky. We are lucky that the idea of net neutrality, for example, here is protected, and there is no partisan pull and tear of the issue, for example, like happens in the United States. But when it comes to regulating foreign platforms like Facebook, like Twitter, like Twitch, we are trying to design a framework, but our politicians currently, unfortunately, even though they have good intentions, they are trying to put together nowadays a regulation that is being discussed in Parliament wants to regulate like this problem, but also the problem of fake news, and also a problem like protection for children. And you know that those things should be regulated, each one by its own side. And also now, like, the perspective of Parliament is more like a punitive one, like this. It's getting closer now to the idea of the state preemptively regulating these social media areas, rather than after a potential conflict is arising. So here, for example, our non-governmental organizations regarding digital freedoms are advocating for this piece of legislation not to be approved because of these flaws. And I think that we haven't had any case similar to Hassan or Vosh that makes us have a national discussion of this issue in particular. Because the day that something that like that happens, or what happened in Nigeria or in India, that there is a national issue regarding a social media platform, I think that then and only then we will have a discussion on what to do with these foreign companies. Because, for example, I discussed with people on my university, and I said, look, maybe we should have like a grassroots, peer-to-peer or cooperative alternative to YouTube that is based here in Chile, that follows Chilean law. And if it follows Chilean law, if we have any problem with free speech, we have our arbitration court and our regular courts of justice. We won't have like a community guidelines and a shadow moderation team that can shadow ban you or silence you
It's also a
whenever they
good like
like you.
security measure in and of itself because YouTube could be gone tomorrow, right? Like this is a private enterprise. They could decide we no longer want to transmit our signals to Chile. Doubt it's going to happen because their business is more eyes the better, but that just makes sense, right? Like it's also like we were talking about Chile being able to develop their own resources, right? And this tech industry is one of those resources, and we need to do the same in Canada because what a great idea of peer to peer so that like ca.youtube.com or ch.youtube.com would be controlled, managed, and run as a Chilean enterprise.
Yeah. And maybe I think like linking it with what you are saying, maybe even the center right and the right on our respective countries would agree on that. Because why would a conflict between a pair of Chileans or a pair of Canadians, one being offended by the other, I don't know, should be resolved by private courts in California?
Yep.
That's like the definition of gifting our sovereignty on the
Yeah.
digital
I see
realm to
somebody
a
has read the
foreign
terms of
country.
service. Right? Like
Yeah,
this
that
is
it
the
makes
thing.
no sense whatsoever, right?
Yeah, if I
None at
wanted to
all.
sue Facebook, I have to sue them in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
It's
weird shit.
So yeah, so you can't say biscuit. The crutch of censor the axe of censorship is hanging over all of our heads every day. And while I do agree with deplatforming certain commentary, like you should not be able to come on and espouse like positive viewpoints of racism. You
Yeah.
should be able to discuss them freely and look at it historically and what we're going to do in the future. But if we have to avoid certain vowels and consonants in those discussions, we're not much better off,
Yeah.
right? Like we'll never progress if, I can't tell Bailey she's a biscuit.
But see,
Yeah.
that holds no weight. Even that just holds no
It's
weight, that
yeah,
word.
like
It
when
doesn't.
again when you
It's
compare that
funny. It's a funny
Edward, yeah,
fucking
like
word.
I always thought of it as like it's a joke. It's like
Yeah.
just because it has no, it's not in the same category at all. even close.
Like I've been called a cracker when I've been play Warzone.
Biscuit.
I play Warzone, and some of those people are the most toxic people in the world.
And
I love the game. Oh, by the way, do you play Warzone?
No, I don't. I have seen people in YouTube playing it. I have seen
Okay.
people discussing it,
Oh,
but
hey, if you want to play, yeah.
I have played League of Legends, and that's like a tiny fraction of the toxicity of Warzone,
Right. And I've been called cracker, and it just made me laugh. Like
well,
I'm like,
and this
oh,
is the thing, right?
hilarious.
So in
It's not. It's cracker. Being called a cracker is not a racist attack against white people. It's not. It's just. It's not.
and this is the thing, right? Like this is where these companies are, they've got their no bullying language in their terms of service and no slurring, no disparaging. This is where on certain platforms you can't talk about being involuntary, non-promiscuous. Um, that we all know what I'm going there. You can't call people involuntary, non-promiscuous. Because part of these
You can't
organizations
say
they
that
want to
word now.
have like this whole buddy mentality, and we're not going to have that. Our society is built around competition and conflict at this point in time, and you need to have sometimes assertive discourse, and sometimes you're going to have some bad words come out. And if I want to tell you, Mike, that I think you're being a piece of shit, that's not up to
Which
Twitch to
I can be.
regulate.
Will Twitch ban us if I say that I hate white people?
Yes.
Fuck white people.
Every
Fuck
platform we are on right now will ban us for that. Because that's a
Yeah,
direct one, right? Like that's a direct one. Like
We're
and,
getting
and
there.
that's I understand, right? Like if you're
White
standing
girl can't say fuck white people.
No, you can't. Well, see you next year.
meet. That's all, folks.
Yeah, all my connections have just been cut off. That's
Jeff Bezos.
yeah, if you
is
don't
knocking
see
on
us
our
until the
door.
middle of January.
Yeah. So, speaking to the middle of January, it seems like COVID's kind of on an uptick.
Yeah, so
Kind of on an uptick.
Kind of on an uptick.
It's like, yeah, we have what? We must be getting close to 5,000 cases
We
a day
are.
in Ontario.
And
I
that's
tried
just in our
to
province.
yeah.
So let's reel it back for a second. So everybody, like, Manuel, do you guys have the Omicron variant in Chile yet?
Yeah, I was listening to the health ministry's report of today after the election, and we are talking that currently we have less than 100 cases of the Omicron variant here in Chile.
Okay, so the issue with that is the doubling of the Omicron variant versus Delta. It's double the infection
Spreads
rate
way
of Delta.
faster.
So with Delta, you're maybe going to infect 2 people. With Omicron right now, it's looking like you're infecting 4 people. So if 16 people are infected today, 32 are tomorrow, or sorry, 64 are tomorrow, and yeah, the math's getting too big for me from there.
Literally a week
256.
ago. Yeah, like literally a week ago, Matt and I were looking at the COVID numbers in Ontario, and
It's just over
it was
1,000.
like it was a little over 1,500, I think, and now it's like we're over 4,000. Wouldn't be surprised if that number was at 5,000 now today. I haven't looked at the numbers today, but yesterday it was over 4,000.
There was a tiny little dip today, but they said that the medical folks said that was just a blip. That it's definitely going to increase drastically.
Yeah, Chile has handled the pandemic relatively well, it looks like.
What's the population of Chile, by the way?
18
Yeah,
million?
we have 18 million up-tops.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we have
it's the size of where Canada was when I was a kid.
We have the advantage, even though at first I didn't like it, we have the advantage that most of the leaders of our current health ministry are just business majors. So they were able to sign contracts and deal quickly with all the pharmaceutical companies, both in the United States, the European Union, and China. But the particular thing that I was remembering now that you mentioned the Omicron wave is that I heard being talked, I think, on Breaking Points between Saga Yeti and Crystal Ball, the idea that probably because of Omicron, the vaccines being used in the United States won't be enough to prevent the infection of the virus.
No, this
The
is the thing.
advantage that I feel that we have in Chile is that because most of us were vaccinated with the Chinese vaccines, that upfront weren't very good at preventing infection. I think that even with the Omicron variant, maybe we will still be better off than the rest of Latin American and the rest of the developed world because we already have our lifestyles adapted to the idea that I'm gonna get infected probably, but not going to die. I will need a pair of pills to handle the pain, but we won't see again the hospitals and to the roof filled with people.
So are the majority
Because
of people
of
in
those
Chile
vaccines.
vaccinated?
Yeah, we have up, I think, according to the University of Oxford, more than 86% of our total population fully vaccinated. Not with the boosters, but at least with the 2 doses.
Excellent. Excellent.
It's needed.
Because yeah, what we're facing here is kind of the same. Like Canada follows a line kind of between Europe and the States for their regulations and everything. And we're now looking for, the smart ones are
Show them the graph. Show them the graph. Should be a graph with Ontario. Just show Ontario how it's starting to peak up.
Yeah, I mean, we have the highest case count since I don't know, not a whole year ago, no, maybe back in April.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I
it was down under
Chile's
1,000.
having
under
about 1,200 cases a day. That's where we were about 2 weeks ago.
And we're just a province of Canada. We're not.
Yeah. This is just Ontario.
So this is us the past 3 months.
So we might. What's the population of Ontario?
About 10, 11 million, I think.
So we're even smaller than Chile. And look at that spread.
So yeah, facing us in the province of Ontario is the smart people would lock it down. But unfortunately, because of capitalism, we all got to go Christmas shopping and spend and everything. And our regulations will come in once again too late and be released too early. And yeah, the world's about to get a bit of a wake up call.
So let's we don't yet know the death toll, what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
So
well, the good thing is our vaccines seem to be helping with that.
Right.
But we're also about 2 to 3 weeks behind the point where we see the big blue infections.
Guys, just for context, if I said that 86% of our population here in Chile are fully vaccinated, what is the number there in Canada?
It's about 80.
Yeah.
About 80.
It was in the high 70s last time I checked.
I
I tried to book my booster shot because originally they were saying January 4th the booster shots would open up to everybody, but they moved it to the 21st, I guess, which is tomorrow. I tried to book my booster shot and I couldn't.
76.
There were no appointments available. They're all booked up, which is a good thing. It means people are going out and getting their shots, but it's
the minute it was available, I was on my phone and I booked.
Yeah, so we're at 76%. So we're
I still don't have my booster shot booked. I still gotta and it looks like I probably won't be able to get mine until late January now.
Let's see what apparently
ago today. Many Americans woke up with fresh hope. The 1 year ago today, many Americans woke up with fresh hope. The first vaccines had been administered. For some, it seemed like the beginning of the end. But now, 1 year later, more people have died since the vaccine was available than before. 500,000 people, bringing the death toll in the U.S. to more than 800,000. And with the new Omicron variant that is more contagious, officials are warning that another spike in cases is coming, but mostly for the unvaccinated.
Our booster vaccine regimens work against Omicron. At this point, there is no need for a variant-specific booster.
It's gotten so bad in the state of Minnesota that hospitals took out this full-page ad, practically begging people to get vaccinated, writing, "We're heartbroken, we're overwhelmed." Dr. Kenneth Holman signed the letter.
They are disappointed, upset, angry, frustrated, saddened. You take the entire range of human emotion, and you will see it in our staff. And we have to remember to continue to care for our patients no matter where they come from, what their vaccination status is.
And the spike is having real-world consequences. Some universities are going back online. Sports games being postponed or canceled, as more than 100 professional basketball, football, and hockey players have been diagnosed with COVID. The U.S. Secretary of State had to return early from his trip to Asia after a reporter on his plane tested positive, leading officials to urge people to take precautions.
We should be having public indoor masking for everyone, vaccinated or unvaccinated. That is 90% of the counties right now.
But only 8 states have mandated masks indoors, and several states have outright banned requiring masks. More proof that in the U.S. the pandemic
Florida
is
and
still
Texas
a
banned
political issue,
people needing
one that is
masks.
having deadly consequences. Patty Culhane, Al
Oh, that's so
Jazeera,
cute.
Washington.
So yeah, COVID's about to get a little ridiculous. And then, because America is America, you have 48 people testing positive for COVID on a cruise ship right now, the largest cruise ship in the world. Now, I don't know if anybody, obviously we all remember when I bring it up, but if you remember the beginning of the pandemic, there was a cruise ship that was not allowed to disembark in Japan because they had COVID cases. So, welcome back to day one of this damn pandemic where people can't get their heads out of their asses and they're going on fucking cruises in a global pandemic.
Yep.
If there was one thing, do you remember everybody was saying, "Oh, I'm never going on a cruise." That's are you kidding me? I'd never do that. Right back onto the boats they go.
Yep.
And then obviously, this boat is probably not being quarantined. It'll disembark in Key West when it pulls in. And all those people get off the ships, get in their cars, stop at Jack in the Box on the way to the airport, get on a plane, and fly home. I wonder how they're going to rapid test that place now as people getting off.
Nice.
So I don't know what everybody else's COVID plans are for Christmas, but I plan on pretty much staying home, staying within my cohort. I'm not going to, people, please don't go hang out with randoms. If your family for some reason is saying, "Hey, we're inviting all the cousins, the aunts, and the uncles and everybody over," don't fucking do it. Just say, "I'm not going to go. I'm going to stay home and eat toast." I know it's a big year, and everybody's like, "Oh, we haven't had the chances to hang out with our." Yes, you have. You have they've relaxed shit enough. You can go and hang out with your friends, but please stay the fuck home because I want to be able to go on vacation again. I need to go to Chile.
Yes.
I need to go to Chile. And
I actually wouldn't mind going to
I
Chile
found
now
out
that
I want to go to Chile.
I did translate terremotos.
Yeah.
It means earthquake.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
trying to
I
Google
don't
this
know.
drink
I
recipe.
don't know. I don't know if you have tried. I mean, I haven't, but I don't know if you have tried mixing liquors, alcohols in the same glass. Sometimes you get a trembling sensation because of the mix.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to emulate with the terremoto.
Wow.
You mix
I love that.
a bunch of liquors, you add the pineapple ice cream, and you get a drink.
Well, I have a feeling
I
when we get
love
to
it.
Chile, we'll definitely try that.
Absolutely.
I mean, when it comes to me, I'm going to be spending Christmas with my girlfriend and her family. By the way, I think she's watching this stream, so I love you, buddy. But
Prior to the stream, he was telling us how
I'm in Chile. We only have 75 Omicron cases. We are not still being called up to lockdown, and we still have our entry points on our boundaries closed. I think we still will still be like 2 weeks more with our frontiers closed. So I can do it, but if you are in a place of risk now, yeah, I will also advise you to be careful of what are you doing
So,
this.
have you guys heard of Black Friday in Chile?
Yeah, we have the equivalent of a Black Friday. I don't think that is as massive as there, but yeah, we do. We have events that emulate that. Yeah.
Why? Where are you going with the Black Friday
Yeah,
thing?
so November 25th, 2021, right?
Oh,
So
I
we
see.
had our borders closed with America. We have the largest border
Yep.
in the world, the longest border in the world with the United States. They're our biggest shopping destination. So prior to their Thanksgiving, their Black Friday, we opened our borders so that people could go shopping.
Yep.
Now look where we are. Got to go back to the malls. Like this is like, yeah. And keep an eye on those 75 cases because we went from 25 to 75, 350. It just next thing you know, you're swamped. You're swamped. So keep those masks on, people.
Yeah, I don't think that those 75 cases here in Chile are the thing of concern. I think that the issue of concern is the opening of our borders in 2 weeks.
Oh, so you have a
Because today they announced that in 2 weeks we will be opening like half of our entry points in our borders. So I mean, I don't want to sound like I don't want people to come. I don't like tourism, or I want to kill the hotel industry. But I think that we maybe need to keep those
Yeah.
borders closed by now, right
Yeah.
now.
It makes sense.
So, yeah, so everybody hopefully is safe during the
Yes.
holidays
Please
and
stay safe.
make wise decisions.
Yeah.
I know that my mom's coming down, and I have some rapid tests that I'm going to take prior to her coming down, just to make
I'm
sure.
working. I'm working. My roommates and I are gonna do our Christmas thing on the 26th. Then we have maybe 3 people coming over who are in our bubble, like in our, social bubble this whole time, and so we're not too worried about that. But yeah, no, people just please take precautions, stay safe, don't go out and hang out in giant groups of random people that you don't know. Um, it
I
sucks.
mean,
It sucks. Nobody wants to live in a lockdown. Nobody wants to have to restrict themselves and who they hang out with, right? It's the holidays. We all want to go visit our families, be with our loved ones. Like, totally get it. That's what everybody wants, right? But right now, given the current situation, if you're in a place where you have a shit ton of COVID cases and you got that Omicron variant going around. Definitely don't do stupid shit. Just protect yourself, protect everyone around you, protect your loved
I was
ones.
listening to Tom Hartman the other day, and the best thing that he analogized with was, on this phone with this biscuit that was against masking, right? And against vaccines. And basically what it came down to was he asked the person, he said, so you're against vaccines, against masking, so you have sex with somebody with syphilis. And the guy obviously goes, no. Well, and that's where it's the
Yeah.
same thing. These are
Yeah.
the behaviors we need to be non-risky with our behaviors now.
Yeah.
What does she look like?
Yeah,
And can I work on
exactly.
her?
So, well, we've
Yeah.
got
Sorry, that was my outside voice.
no worries. Well, we've got the pirate contingent. It's a very technically adept conversation we've got tonight. I'm not sure, Manuel or Mike, if you have heard of something called Roblox.
I
No.
played Roblox before it was cool. I was distracted on class like on 5th grade. I was playing Roblox before it blew up.
Yeah, well, exactly. So it turns out Roblox.
What
I'm
is
gonna
this
play the
Roblox?
okay. I'm gonna play the trailer.
I've
for
heard of it.
Roblox.
I don't actually. I've never played it. I don't know.
Roblox at the beginning was physics simulation software that afterwards was like modified, like with a period of two penguins in this moment, like to have a website with a space where kids could play online using like the rules of physics of the software and build things and build games and interact.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That
I'm
was the
gonna-
beginning.
Open source
And
game
now,
platform.
and now recently, because it became popular because of the pandemic, obviously, and now it's incorporating things like dynamic lighting, compensating those who develop games with a portion of the earnings, and now they brought it to Xbox, and now they are trying to enter the idea of the metaverse and virtual reality. They have also done the advertising dealings with Disney, with Gucci, and a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
Okay.
play the trailer for Roblox to bring the boomers in the room up to speed.
Hey now.
Excuse me.
Wow.
I am
Oh.
like. I'm younger than Manuel. I am the youngest person in this room.
This is amazing.
Yeah, it sometimes can be
Open
as
source
plain
engine.
on the computer, but yeah, the
It's a
idea
great
behind
concept.
is great. Yeah.
This looks cool.
Every kid
I-
loves it.
I told you that it was originally like a physics software. Well, like in 2015, I used Roblox to design a part of my school to propose to the director, like to build something new, and I used Roblox to design it
Sure.
because I didn't have any kind of architecture software, and I used that.
Wow.
Nice.
Amazing.
So it's a great platform. It's a lot of entertainment for people. They've done a really good job. They just went public last year, I think, with like a $50 billion valuation.
Jeez.
But it
This
turns
is
out,
open source? This is open
no,
source?
it's not open source.
No, close source,
Yeah.
close source.
Okay.
But it turns out that Roblox is actually exploitative.
This story began when I learned 3 stunning things about Roblox. If you don't know much about Roblox, today it is the most popular video game in the US and Europe, played by 200 million, mostly young people every month. Roblox is more of a creative platform than a game though. It's a downloadable portal to a staggering quantity of multiplayer games of all different genres that are all just a little bit floaty and janky. That's because anybody can download Roblox and use its free tools and free hosting to start making and monetizing games. And an astonishing number of people have done just that. Where today Steam hosts almost 55,000 games, Roblox hosts more than 20 million experiences. Which is what Roblox calls games because, legally speaking, it can't admit to selling games within Apple's App Store, as that would make it a game shop within a game shop. So, those 3 things I learned that made me do the internet equivalent of a double take. 1, all of Roblox's developers do earn a cut of the revenue of everything they create, but that cut is shockingly small. To put it in perspective, Steam catches heat from game developers for taking 30% of every sale, while Epic and Microsoft's PC store take just 12%. Roblox claims that developers receive around 24.5% of any sale, although as we'll soon see, in reality they get even less. The second thing I saw? When Roblox went public on the stock market this year, it was valued at a staggering $41 billion, a value somewhere between Nintendo and Electronic Arts. Roblox is now worth 7 Ubisofts. And 3, in the words of Roblox's own Vice President of Marketing, Tammy Barmick, from the very beginning, it was about having kids develop games for other kids. These kids are not just hobbyists. They're doing real work that is driving the value of one of the biggest video game publishers in history. But with a cut that's just 1/3 of the industry standard and nobody looking out for their health, we had to ask, is the next generation of video game developers being exploited before they've even finished secondary school? But before we look at how Roblox treats its workers, first we have to look at how Roblox turns its young users into workers in the first place. So, the good thing about Roblox, as I've said, is that the tools are free, the hosting's free. The tools actually let you skip with the traditional learning curve associated with 3D modeling, and Roblox even handles moderation of your players for you. But people just using these free tools to get creative doesn't make Roblox any money. In fact, it loses the money because servers are expensive, which is why the moment that Roblox's core player base of 9 to 15-year-olds start playing, they are submerged in this idea that they could be an entrepreneur. After all, it's impossible to play Roblox without making other Roblox users richer because you're buying passes for their experiences. You're buying their cosmetics. But we're just getting started. The tabs at the top of Roblox.com are basically find games, find cosmetics, and start making stuff yourself. But if kids click on that, they see make anything, reach millions of players, and earn serious cash. Creators like you, it says, are being paid for what they love to do. If you go to Roblox's YouTube channel, the first videos you see are about successful game developers. In general, Roblox's PR department loves shining a light on the game's younger success stories. The official Roblox tutorials and the game's support website both assume you want help with monetization, and if you go to education.roblox.com, which contains lesson plans for educators, one of the lessons is how to earn money in Roblox. Or, in the words of one 11-year-old I interviewed,
I saw other big games, I saw other developers getting money in a way that looked easy.
So, are any of these kids really earning serious cash? Well, where the average indie game on Steam makes several $1,000s, the vast majority of experiences on Roblox earn their creators $0. Now, to understand
I played that game. It's very hard.
Because
is this the murder
it took
one?
me weeks to get
That
my
the
head
murder
around
one?
this. I'll let you
No,
decide
it's a spin-off of the murder one.
Okay.
So, making a game in Roblox is easy. It's when you want other people to play it to reach those millions of players that Roblox promised that your journey will start heading uphill. If you want to figure out what to play on Roblox, it only shows you the 1,000 or so games out of its 20 million that have the most players right now. There are no discoverability tools that let you see the newest games or to help new designers. The up and coming section still shows you games with thousands of players. So if you're a kid trying to make games for Roblox, you have 2 choices at this point. You can hustle and try and get your game in front of streamers or YouTubers, or you can pay Roblox to advertise it. But to buy anything in Roblox, you first have to convert your real money to the company's virtual currency, Robux. Developers on Roblox bid with Robux for ad slots in an auction, a system that is discussed by developers in forum threads as a gamble, with developers hoping that with the right game and the right ad, they'll grab enough players that their game ends up surfacing in the churning froth of the Roblox marketplace. So the first thing Roblox tells its young developers is make anything, reach millions of players, earn serious cash. And then the next thing it says is, oh, well, I mean, if you actually want people to play your game, I guess you could give us money. But as duplicitous as it sounds, we know this works because Roblox has 20 million experiences made by its mostly young audience, even though when I spoke to professional Roblox developers, they told me that kids should not expect to make money on the platform.
Yeah, I don't think it's really possible for young developers to succeed on the platform anymore. It's really hard to get into those top 200 games.
Sometimes I think of making Roblox games as trying to make a viral TikTok or a viral meme. It's really tricky. There's pretty much only one big market to shoot for on Roblox right now, and that's kids. If you don't hit that demographic just right, and if you don't get your gameplay loop just right, you fail.
Later in this video, we're going to get to why it benefits Roblox Corporation to have hundreds of thousands of developers making games for the platform, ignorant of the fact that the odds are stacked against them. But first, let's go back to that question of why it's so hard to make money on the Roblox marketplace, because we're not done. Let's imagine you actually made a game that beats the odds and becomes a small hit, and now your game has thousands of players who are making inexperienced purchases with Robux. Roblox takes a 30% cut of every transaction on their platform, and then you actually get paid the rest in Robux, which of course isn't real money. You can only spend it in Roblox. You want to get paid. You want to withdraw that money as actual cash. Now, here's the bit that I think is just super shady. If any Roblox user wants to take Robux back out of their account and put it in their bank account as actual currency, the minimum withdrawal amount is 100,000 Robux, valued at around $1,000 US. If you make $900 worth of Robux selling stuff you've made, your real life paycheck will be $0. Oh, and also, you can't withdraw anything unless you're first paying for a Roblox monthly premium subscription. Now, let me make this part abundantly clear. This is a choice that Roblox Corporation has made. Entropia Universe, the world's only cash-based MMO that we did a video on last year, has a minimum withdrawal amount of $100 US. In Second Life, it's just $10 US. In making the minimum withdrawal amount so high, Roblox is just increasing the chances that you won't hit that cap, and so we'll just plow the money back into Roblox. Whether that's buying games or cosmetics or saving up to advertise your next game. Lots of Roblox developers even use their Robux to pay other Roblox developers to work on their game. And if they're not smart about how they pay these developers, Roblox will take a cut of that paycheck too. But for now, let's just imagine that you make a game and it's a hit, and you do make it to 100,000 Robux, so you're allowed to withdraw it, finally, to your real-life bank account. You see, Roblox buys Robux from users at a very different rate that it sells them. So withdrawing 100,000 Robux doesn't get you $1,000 US, it gets you $350. Think about it. If your assets in Roblox become substantially devalued only at the moment you take them out of the platform, why not keep them on the platform in case you need them one day? And so tons of Robux don't ever make it off the platform. Instead, they just go round and round with Roblox taking cut after cut. And so while on paper, Roblox developers get that 24.5% of a game's sales, in reality, it's even lower. If we look at Roblox's published records, we can read that for every $1 Roblox earns in bookings, only 17 cents make it back out of the ecosystem to developers. Or at least that's our best guess as to what developers are getting. The platform is actually so opaque that even full-time professional devs who've been doing this for years do not know what fraction of the pie they're taking home.
Like, you just have to roughly estimate it based off of like those exchange rates, and that's all you get.
And by the way, the lack of regulation in today's tech sector is seeing a lot of historically illegal practices coming back again with a new lick of paint. Roblox paying people in Robux is very, very similar to historical mining and logging camps in the United States paying people in companies.
Here in Chile too.
Script was currency invented and manufactured by these companies that could only be used to buy things within the company's camp. For example, in the stores that they would build. The mining camps like paying people in script for the same reasons that Roblox does. One, it means workers spend their money at the company, which makes the company richer. Two, workers become more afraid of breaking company rules because companies can take away their ability to spend script, essentially confiscating their paycheck. And three, script makes it harder for workers to quit their jobs because the moment they do, they get poorer. Unbelievably, these camps would have booths where you could exchange your script for US dollars, but the exchange rate hurt the worker, just like Roblox. Script so messes with workers' ability to make money that it was banned in the United States in 1938. And until we legislate script again in the digital age, Roblox is going to keep paying developers with pretend money. Now, when the question of whether Roblox is treating its designers fairly comes up, and it does come up, you can find long threads on the official forums with older developers banding together to ask or really beg for a more fair profit share, you always see the same two things. You'll see Roblox posting a super corporate and disinterested response that sort of ends the discussion without having it, but you'll also see people saying that devs asking for more money is silly, because Roblox has never been a profitable company. It loses money every single year, and so there's no more money to give out. That is bollocks. But don't take my word for it, take the word of the market analysts who have decided that as a money-making machine, Roblox is worth somewhere around the value of 7 Ubisofts. The idea that this company has no more money to give out is a repulsive one. Roblox is just doing the same thing as companies like Spotify, Uber, and Airbnb, something known as platform capitalism. All of these companies have business models based on unsustainable expansion, always moving into more countries, hiring more staff, increasing their expenses until they control the entire market sector and all of its data, and can use this monopoly to make incredible money, as we saw with Facebook and Amazon. If Roblox wasn't losing money year after year, its investors could reasonably turn around and say, why not? And so, when Roblox's developers come cap in hand asking for more revenue, there's never any left, even though the platform has 200 million monthly users and the CEO is a billionaire. Because if Roblox were to give more money to developers, that's less money it could spend growing the platform and becoming a monopoly. We reached out to Roblox Corporation for an interview or comment on how they treat their young developers. They did not reply to us. Let's take a moment to put a human face on all of this. Was it harder than you expected to make Robux with your levels?
That is definitely a big yes.
This is Emil. Emil is 11, and he got his parents to send him to a special summer camp where he could learn to code for Roblox, and then he made a game all by himself. And the game flopped, and he ended up sounding like a disenchanted 30-year-old veteran in an 11-year-old's body.
Even though Roblox says to encourage you to actually make games, the likelihood of you making a successful game is basically zero. You always compete with the people that have lots of money, and like, it'd be a problem if I showed you something because I'm trying to.
No, please show me whatever you like.
This is like a big game developer that has lots of success. Like, the amount of people that they have means the bigger the success is, and that means that they get a giant spike. And even if the spike lowers, they still go back up, and it's just an infinite cycle of spikes that go up and down, up and down. But when you're a small game developer, you'll have that spike, you come all the way down, you stay down.
Were you tempted to spend Robux on advertising your game after you made it?
That I didn't even have Robux, but I wish I did, because then I could advertise it and maybe have a chance.
Emil's disappointment wasn't to do with whether Roblox's revenue split was fair. He hadn't really thought about that
breaks
concept.
my heart.
He was just upset that Roblox only shows its users games that have tons of fans. But the thing is, Roblox benefits from giving a very small fraction of its developers almost all of the money. Because those successful devs can then keep updating their popular games, or they can make new games, or they can go full-time and hire people to work for them.
One of the little baby
has
at least 200,000 concurrent players at the same time.
Wow.
Jesus Christ. I wanted to make this video to really tell you my story and give you my honest thoughts on the 8th annual Bloxy Awards.
And interestingly, the only concession Roblox has made in recent years to do with giving developers more money gives even more money to the developers who were already making money. Experience-based payouts is a new sliver of Roblox's revenue that goes to the games that Roblox subscribers play for the longest. This is also Roblox Corporation tacitly encouraging its developers to make games that are addictive rather than fun, but the way that Roblox encourages its users to make games that are manipulative would be a whole other video, and I'm going to stay on topic. Here's games professor and labour activist Ty Underwood on why Roblox would be trying to empower its most successful developers and ensure the rest have no power at all.
Comparing it to YouTube, you and I know of many YouTube channels where it's like, oh, well, I'm
Professor.
actually a boss with employees now. And so are all the top Roblox games. You can't organize bosses. Their interests do not align with workers. The workers' power comes from having the ability to stop production, and all bosses everywhere, it is against their interests to stop production.
That does track with my experience. I reached out to one extraordinarily successful Roblox developer for this piece, and they did agree to speak to me on the condition that we didn't reveal their identity, saying, quote, "Despite some fair criticisms, we have a good working relationship with Roblox, and I wouldn't necessarily want to be directly featured or quoted in a video critical of their platform cut." I asked that same anonymous developer what message they'd like to get out to Roblox's young developers. They told me, "On Roblox, many young devs crunch and burn out. They're not privy to ongoing dev community discussions about healthy working practices. My advice would be to not overwork. Don't feel pressured to work long days, especially as a young person. And lower your expectations. There are millions of experiences on Roblox and only a handful become top games. Make sure to have fun even if only a few people play your game." There's just one problem with getting those messages out to young game developers. Roblox is a publicly traded company now, which means it has a legal obligation to maximize profits, and kids working too hard with unreasonable expectations isn't bad for the company. And this is the heart of Roblox's success. In convincing its young users that making money on the platform is possible, it gets hundreds of thousands of young people pouring their imagination and spirit into making the next big Roblox success story. And while by my estimation, 99.9% of them flame out and make no money at all, that doesn't affect Roblox's bottom line one bit. Here's Genya again talking about his experience in the Roblox official internship program.
For instance, in my class, I was the only person that released a game, and that game was the only game from the whole class that actually did well. And we had like 7,000 people online. And so it's kind of rare for those games to actually work.
But then if some young wonderkind does make the next great thing on Roblox, there is nothing to stop an older team of developers taking the idea, refining it, re-releasing it, and then advertising it. But whether young developers find success
that
on
game
Roblox
I
or not,
also played
the
it.
platform benefits from young
For me, it
developers
was like
building themselves
a
up before they've realized that
2.0
they've
version
stacked against
of
them.
a
And
really
once they've
old
done
game
that,
within
they're
Roblox.
that much less likely to walk away.
You got 4 towers and
can't
you
take
had
the
like
game anywhere else. If
bazookas
I'm on
and
Steam,
bombs, and you had to destroy the other team's
theoretically, I
towers.
could move my game.
I have seen that game
to
as
some, epic or try to make
far
a deal with
away as
Apple or something like that. But
2009.
once you're in Roblox,
maybe.
it is impossible to extract your game or your work or even your skills from Roblox because it's such a idiosyncratic system to work with.
And this is so infuriating for me, because if Roblox was actually operating with care for its young audience, it could be a great thing for the games industry. Free tools to get kids messing around and making stuff that their friends can come and play, also for free? That's awesome! That anonymous developer who spoke to me told me that they wished Roblox had been around when they were a kid and trying and failing to make games in Flash.
no doubt.
But that's not what makes Roblox money. What makes Roblox money is empowering kids to become workers
Trisha Day was
with unreasonable
watching earlier.
expectations of what they can achieve.
Hey, Trisha, if you're still
in a way
here.
that would be illegal if it wasn't
Because I
happening
love crackers.
online. So what can we do about any of this?
The question of whether or not it is possible to do labor organizing with children productively is a really bizarre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it's sad. It's
with much older young people, young adults who I'm just only now introducing the idea that your boss may have interests that diverge from your own in some cases, right? And this is mind-blowing. I think the answer in this case is that it should just simply be regulated that Roblox cannot have people sell within their games, right? If their audience is largely children. And that's not usually what I reach for because top-down regulation doesn't build worker power. But in this case, it's they're kids. It's what's going on here. It's a very weird and scary situation.
And what about Emil, our 11-year-old game developer? What does he think should be done? Do you think that kids should be encouraged to try and sell things on Roblox?
I think that kids should be encouraged, but they shouldn't be lied to about how easy it is, because it's not easy.
But The one thing we know for sure is that Roblox is not going to legislate itself in a way that affects its ability to make money. Roblox is going to continue doing everything it can to scratch revenue out of its young, vulnerable audience, no matter whether they're getting fair pay, whether it's good for their health, or whether they're fully empowered to walk away. Thank you very much for watching this video, everybody.
Wow.
If you enjoyed it, please do share it.
So
that I've never heard of any of that.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary out
I can't see this lasting that long. There was a great correlation they made with those scripts and those camps and stuff like that. Like that's entirely the same thing. It's
I have the experience that I try to develop games on Roblox, but and it's true, it's hard work because you have to program. Roblox uses the Lua programming language to develop its scripting, and I tried to learn it and build things, and it took time. At the end, I threw it away because I had to go to school and do other things. So the idea now that there are thousands of children doing the same thing that I did 8 years ago is astonishing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens because more companies, like the whole Meta platform is going to be based around the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like this is
that's a precursor. Actually, that's good foreshadowing there, buddy.
Yep.
Damn.
So that's where I think we should maybe close it off for the evening because we've been going for 2.5 hours.
I just wanted to say that I'm feeling compelled to show this video. I mean, to translate the subtitles of the video to Spanish to show it to my country's protector of the children. We have an institution specialized on the Universal Declaration of Rights of the Children.
Yep.
Because this is potentially illegal within Chile's law, but I don't know how to.
Every child will hate you everywhere if you get Roblox banned from Chile.
Sorry, what were you saying?
That I feel that within Chile's laws, what Roblox is doing, it's legal, both in a labor, wages approach and children's protection. And I think that maybe I could translate the subtitles of this video to Spanish and show it to the person that is in here. Chile has like the public responsibility of defending the rights of the children. We call it youth protector, to see if this is actually legal, because I really think that this is legal.
Yeah, no, it's definitely exploitative.
If you need help making a video, man, let me know. And Matt's got the link. He can send it to you afterwards for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting to see what's going to happen now in the world. And if anybody's still out there watching us, I'd love to know what they think about child exploitation in video games. And like Manuel, thank you.
That blows my mind.
You've been fantastic this evening. You've brought a lot. I was not expecting you to be a Roblox fanboy, but thank you, because these two would have been like, what's with the Lego men?
I mean, you're a fantastic spokesperson for your country too, by the way.
Thank you.
You know, it was good to hear firsthand experience, because often what we hear in the news is, very tainted by, political ideology and governments and so forth. So we really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. And
something on your shirt there. Can I see your shirt?
You're welcome anytime you want to come.
It's a shirt that I have left from the campaign.
Oh, nice. If you have any extras, Bailey would love one. Nice.
Yes, Manuel, thank you so much for joining us. It was awesome to have you here. And again, you're welcome anytime. Stick around on our server and hang with us anytime. Thank you again so much.
Well, I'll close us off with a nice big solid Viva Chile and Viva Socialismo.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And to
Long live.
everybody. Sorry, what was that, Manuel?
Yeah, I said long live, long live.
Yes.
Happy
Yes,
holidays,
indeed.
everybody. Be safe.
Yes, so everybody who's watching, if there's anybody out there still watching, we wish you all the best for the holidays. Happy holidays. Whatever you're celebrating, you know, if you're not celebrating anything, that's okay too. Hope you're able to just enjoy some downtime and
But don't celebrate with anyone outside your cohort.
yes, be safe, obviously, because this pandemic is still raging on.
Or we're gonna cracker that whip on you.
Yeah. So yeah, much love to everybody. I don't know if we'll be back next week. I think next
And
week
we'll
we'll
hang
make
around
it
for a
up.
moment. We're gonna say goodbye to you too. So.
All right.
Okay.
Bye,
Yeah.
folks.
Bye.
Okay, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.